Academic procession follows me. Please clear the middle aisle. Deputy Vice Chancellor of Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnerships, Registrar, the Bursar, University Librarian, Provost of the College of Medicine, Provost of the Postgraduate College, the Dean, Faculty of the Social Sciences, Deans of other faculties and of students, Directors of institutes and centers, Heads of departments, the 12th Vice Chancellor of this university, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The 595th University of Ibadan Inaugural Lecture will be delivered this evening by Professor Dhikru Adewale Yagboyaju of the Department of Political Science on behalf of the Faculty of the Social Sciences. Professor Dhikru Adewale Yagboyaju was born in Ibadan in October 1964 to the family of Chief Lisa Akoni and Chief Mrs. Afsa Anike Yagboyaju, both of whom originated from Ebe. He attended Alafia Institute, Mokola, Ibadan for his primary school education, while he had his secondary school education at Baptist High School, Ebe. In 1988, he obtained the Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science, second class honors from the Lagos State University, becoming the pioneer class set, and Master of Science degree Political Science in 1990 from the University of Lagos, graduating with a PhD grade and one of the best in his set. He obtained the Doctor of Philosophy PhD degree in Political Science from the University of Ibadan in 2004. His thesis, titled "The State and Political Corruption in Nigeria, a comparative analysis of the Shehu Shagari administration in 1979 and 1983 and the Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida military regime of 1985 to 1993. Professor Yagboyaju's post-university employment history includes business, teaching and research, as well as community service spanning over 35 years. In October 2005, he joined the services of the University of Lagos as lecturer at Grade 2, and he served as examination officer, undergraduate, before moving to Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU Ile-Ife, in March 2008. Also at OAU, he equally served as examination officer undergraduate. Professor Yagboyaju joined the services of the University of Ibadan in May 2012. The University of Ibadan, he has held several administrative positions, which include coordinator of the Masters in Strategic Studies, MSS, coordinator, Department of Political Science postgraduate program between 2017 and 2021, deputy editor, Ibadan Journal of Social Sciences, between 2019 to date, congregation member of the University Senate between 2014 to 2016, and thereafter member from 2018 to date. He has also served as the Hall Master of Sultan Bello Hall between 2021 and 2024. He has been the head of the Department of Political Science since August 2024. He is the first non-alumnus to be so appointed in the history of the department. Professor Yagboyaju has also been a member of several universities committees, chairman, faculty fundraising committee from April 2025 to date, member faculty appointments and promotions committee between 2013 to date, member resuscitation and rebranding of Ibadan Journal of Social Science between 2022 and 2024, and member University of Ibadan Research and Development UI Records, organizers of the university's first research fair between 2018 and 2023. He has also been part of other institutional committees outside the University of Ibadan. Professor Yagboyaju is a recipient of fellowships and awards, which include the Institute of Commonwealth Studies, the University of London. He has also been a beneficiary of travel and research grants from organizations and agencies, which include the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, United Kingdom, University of Edinburgh, Scotland, in collaboration with the Department of Political Science of the University of Lagos, Shelby Polom Davis Center for Historical Studies, Princeton University in the United States, Council for the Development of Social Science Research in Africa, ODESFA, Department of International Development, the Institute of Democratic Alternative in South Africa, and the Federal Government of Nigeria. He has also consulted for organizations and agencies, which include the United Nations, the National Defense College, the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. In the field of development administration, Professor Dhikru Adewale Yagboyaju has provided distinguished and profound academic leadership and mentorship. He has published 90 works in books, chapters in books, and national as well as international journal articles. He has completed the supervision of 2 PhD theses, and he has been part of the completion of 6 other PhD theses. In addition, he has supervised more than 80 master's degree dissertations. Clap properly now. Number of his former PhD students are top-level lecturers as well as members of management of universities and polytechnics in Nigeria and around the world, while others occupy top levels as directors in universities as well as other tertiary institutions. He is the external examiner to several universities in and outside Nigeria, including the University of Lagos, Obafemi Awolowo University Ilefe, and KwaZulu-Natal University in South Africa, where he has examined undergraduate and postgraduate courses as well as PhD. Professor Dhikru Adewale Yagboyaju loves to learn more about philosophical sayings in Yoruba language, and he listens to Yoruba indigenous music, especially Dhikru Adewale Yagboyaju. And his Fuji exponent. Professor Yagboyaju is a public intellectual, a community leader, and a devout Muslim. He was the president of the Ede Unique Club between 1996 and 2008, member of the Ikoyi Club in Lagos, the club 1938, Aṣíwájú Àríàgbò of Ọ̀ṣun in Ọ̀ṣun State, Ajiwari of Ado-Ekiti in Ekiti State, and Kayode of Iyamole, Kogi State. And above all, he is the president of the Muslim Association of Nigeria. Professor Yagboyaju is married to Rakia Bamidele Dhikru Adewale, and the marriage is blessed with 4 promising adult children. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I invite Professor Dhikru Adewale Yagboyaju to deliver his lecture, which is titled "Big Promoting Nigeria's Struggle with the Paradox." Professor Yagboyaju.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnerships, Registrar, the University Librarian, Provost of the College of Medicine, and of the Postgraduate College, Dean of Faculty of the Social Sciences, Deans of other faculties and of students, Directors of institutes, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call your attention to the prelude to this lecture, the 4 plate preludes to this lecture. And I'll quickly mention 2 out of this. You have the opportunity to read from the hard copies. If Athens shall appear great to you, consider then that our glories were purchased by valiant men, and by men who learned their duties and performed such duties diligently. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Ladies and gentlemen, 50 years ago, the first inaugural lecture from the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan, was delivered. Today, I have the privilege of presenting the 595th inaugural lecture of this great institution, Nigeria's premier university and the best. This lecture is being delivered on behalf of the Faculty of the Social Sciences. It is the 12th inaugural lecture from the Department of Political Science, and significantly, it is the first from a non-alumnus. Having obtained my first 2 degrees from Lagos, I dare say Lagos has arrived in Ibadan. The department's tradition of inaugural lectures began with Professor Billy J.W. seminar presentation titled Skepticism and Political Values in 1975. The most recent, preceding the one that is being delivered today, was presented in 2024 by Professor Aitua J. High-Provost. It was titled The World in Transition, Understanding Power in the International Political System. Between these 2 landmark lectures, the department has produced other distinguished inaugural lectures by Professor Peter Ake in 1983, J. Bayo Adikon in 1993, J. A. Ayadi 1997, Alex Boyega 2003, Bayo Kwadi 2008, O.B.C. Willis 2014, V. Ade Sona 2016, Ewusa Osaga 2019, and E. Wemiayede 2021. These scholars have collectively illuminated the prodigious contributions of the Ibadan School of Political Science to the teaching, study, and practical application of the discipline in a field of real-world engagement. My presentation today is both a reflection of my personal journey and a summary of key lessons I've learned within and beyond the university. I would like to start by sharing part of my personal story, starting from the late 1980s when I was encouraged by my father, Dhikru Adewale Yagboyaju, to join trading and commercial activities in full. In 1989, while I was pursuing my MSc Political Science at the University of Lagos, I had the privilege of being part of the Nigerian delegation to the World Fashion Exhibition in Osaka, Japan, as an exhibitor showcasing hand-woven fabrics, batik and other indigenous textile materials, as well as ready-to-wear garments and bespoke clothing, as well as footwear and best friends. In 1990, having bagged a postgraduate degree, PhD grade, from the University of Lagos, I returned to trade and commerce in Ibadan on the instructions of my father. This decision was shocking to Laidi Abbas, emeritus professor of computer science, University of Lagos, and my uncle and guardian during my university days in Lagos. My mom and my aunt, Alaja Kudra and Riki Adewale. However, for our people in the bustling trading areas of Amunigo, Agbeni, Akilapa, Labawu, and Fele, as well as in towns such as Ede, Ilorin, Iseyin, Uke, Ayeto, Akure, Owo, Ondo, Ado-Ekiti, Ebori-Ekiti, Lokojale, Okene, among others in Nigeria. My return was regarded as groundbreaking. Today, it was remarkable that the university graduate, then described as a whiskey, had chosen to return home and invest in his roots. It did not take long for the dividends of my involvement in trade and commerce to begin to manifest. Apart from acquiring capital items that signal a new beginning, chieftaincy titles and awards started pouring my way from 1995. However, starting from immediately after the cancellation of the results of the presidential election of June 1993, I observed a sharp decline in the opportunities for legitimate wealth creation particularly in the textile and fashion sector. In response, I joined the campaign for the revalidation of the election result through the Ibadan-based group known as Concerned Professionals. I did so at the invitation of Bisola Adiajayi, daughter of the Emeritus Professor J.F. Adiajayi. The primary motive for honoring the invitation from the concerned professionals was for me to restore normalcy and return to the good days of profit-making in trade and commerce. I found myself wrestling with a deep sense of agitation and apprehension, constantly questioning how did Nigeria, a force to reckon with in the Committee of Nations in the 1960s to the mid-1970s, and the place which provided so much for me by way of opportunities for legitimate earnings in trade and commerce from the late 1980s to the mid-1990s, become a land of squandered hope. What has gone wrong with the optimistic and promising national project of the early post-independent years of the 1960s? What has happened to the national heroes, straddling social, economic, and political segments of the society? Can Nigeria, with its enterprising and energetic population, the natural endowments and other sources of blessings, be big for nothing? And how can the political economy of small and medium businesses be deployed for prosperity in Nigeria, so as to make the country one in which there are greatest opportunities for prosperity for the greatest number of people, making it a big for something country? Doctor of Philosophy in Political Science, and setting the tone for the business of today. With the above questions arresting my attention constantly, both in conversations and in the few pieces of newspaper articles authored by me around that time, I was encouraged to commence a PhD program in political science at the University of Ibadan in 1996 by Ms. Ronke Sonia. She and her colleague, Dr. Isaac Olawale Albert, then of the Institute of African Studies, University of Ibadan, provided support in getting the interest and approval of Dr. Rotimi Timothy Suberu as supervisor for my thesis. Initial conversations with our supervisor, which followed the proposal that I submitted, prompted Dr. Rotimi Suberu to suggest a research focus on the relevance of the modern states in Nigeria and the challenge posed by corruption in the country's political life. Of course, hardly can any other segment in the life of a country perform effectively once its politics is known for underperformance. My supervisor and I agreed to work with the title, The State and Political Corruption in Nigeria, a comparative analysis of the Shehu Shagari administration 1979-1983 and the Ibrahim Babangida military regime 1985 to 1993. This title was only finalized after revisions and the approval of the postgraduate school. I successfully defended the thesis in the Vivabo's examination held in April 2004, marking a journey that took no fewer than 7 years. This was not unconnected to delays traceable mainly to disruptions of school calendar by industrial actions and strikes, all of which characterized Nigeria's encounter with prolonged military rule at that point in time. In the year 2000, a conference paper titled Corruption and Democracy in Nigeria, where Honorable Justice Kyle Shaw was the keynoter. The title of his address, Corruption and Nigeria, Till Death Do Them Part, excited me, and I think I must discuss my wish to adopt it sometime with Mr. Yemi Akoshe George, convener of the conference, as well as the Shelby Fulham Davis Center for Historical Studies, Princeton University, United States of America. This decision changed in 2005 with the publication of a book whose title, Rich but Poor, Corruption and Good Governance in Nigeria, and contents were unprofitable for me. I fell in love with the title and considered it appropriate for my inaugural lecture, not only because I was a contributing author, nor was it because Honorable Justice Mustafa Akobi, former President Court of Appeal, Professor Lai Olodi and Remi Anifuoshi also had chapter contributions, but because of the curiosity it connotes, this decision changed only in the second week of January 2025, when I was nominated by my department to present this inaugural lecture, which is titled Big Forgotten, Nigeria's Struggle with the Paradox. I sought advice almost immediately from Professor Lai Olodi and Professor A.A.B. Agbaji, both of whom have provided unwavering support throughout my academic journey. As always, they were generous with their insights. Nigeria big for nothing, how and why? There is hardly a doubt about Nigeria being big, with an estimated population of over 200 million, making it 15.4% of Africa's 54 countries. Spreading over a land area of well over 375,000 square miles, Nigeria is among the biggest countries in the world, both in population and in size, in land size. The name Nigeria seems to conjure up images of chaos and confusion, maladministration, malcontent, disobedience, and business fraud, among others. Yet, no matter how deep Nigeria has sunk into a mire of corruption, repression, and economic dilapidation, the country remains one of the world's greatest strategic nations, Man 2000. It is considered the richest country in Africa and the world's 26th richest, largely due to its GDP, driven by its vast oil resources, agricultural output, and rapidly growing tech sector. Nigeria is the biggest trading partner the USA has in Africa. It is the fifth largest supplier of crude oil to the United States market, where its low sulfur bonylite crude is especially prized because it is easily refined into gasoline. Yet, it is in this same Nigeria that observers are confronted by the paradox of oil refineries that have been out of production for more than 3 decades. Rail, air, and sea services that are performed at this valley for decades, as well as roads, electricity, and other physical infrastructure in sorry condition. Weak institutions, and after being one of the world's poorest countries, parading poor statistics as to the population of those who can access basic education, primary health services, and other basic things of life, especially among the ordinary citizens. UNDP 2007 2008, 2014, and 2024. Yagboyaju 2016, Yagboyaju and Oko Osisimbine 2020, Legatum Institute 2023. Contributions to knowledge. The focus of my academic interest within the broad field of political science is in the area of public and development administration. My fascination with public and development administration dates back to my undergraduate days, shaped by memorable expressions that continue to influence my perspective. Two of such expressions stand out. One, administration commences when two men cooperate to rule a stone that none of them can move alone. About time. Two, if our civilization fails, it will be mainly because of the breakdown of public administration, well as John Ham, 1877 to 1953. The points to note in the two postulations above are: administration is inevitably a fundamental process in all organized human activities, whether in social institutions, private enterprise, or in the governmental sector. Public administration is all about the efficient and effective management of human and material resources for the good of the generality of the people. It implies that the condition of a people is determined largely by the performance of administration, private and public, with the latter more profoundly. A breakdown in public administration, particularly the civil service, will therefore cause inefficiency, corruption, decline in public services, and in the living conditions of the people, all of which can threaten social cohesion and possibly lead to disintegration. Yagboyaju 2004, 2010, 2010A, 2016, 2016A, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2021A. Arising from the areas of academic interest listed above, my publications, whether as a sole author or in collaboration with others, are concentrated on concept issues and institutions around and about the state, governance, ecology of public administration, leadership, corruption, party politics and election management, security covering the police, prison, correctional centers, and the armed forces, as well as elite institutions, the university and the civil service. Yagboyaju 2000, 2004, 2005, 2007, 2009, 2009A, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2014, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2019A, 2021, 2022, 2023. Yagboyaju and Akinola 2019, Yagboyaju and Oko Osisimbine 2020, Yagboyaju and Simbine 2020, Yagboyaju and Oyewo 2024, and of course Yagboyaju and Agbaji 2023. My thoughts on the nature and character of the modern state in Nigeria, as well as the effect in the performance of public institutions in the country, can be found first as part of the findings in my PhD thesis. I argued that the understanding of politics in Nigeria can hardly be separated from understanding the nature of the state in the country. This position has been reaffirmed in several of my subsequent publications. Yagboyaju 2018. In all, my position has drawn strength from earlier works on the same phenomenon. These include Eke 1975 in a social construct of the two publics, Longfield 1981, Ake 1981 and 1985, Dinodu 1985, Agbaji 2004, and Ayoade 2010. In most of these submissions, the colonial origins of the modern state in Nigeria, politicization of politics and politicization of ethnicity, and the reliance on patron-client networks for seeking legitimacy stand out as factors shaping the character of the state in Nigeria. Scholars and analysts have therefore come up with descriptions such as Nigeria being a British invention, a mere geographical expression, the mistake of 1914, a product of British colonial architecture, the expression of an alien will, and a country of many nations. Among others, for Agbaji 2004, Nigeria has been described as an unfinished state of uncertainty, a state of aspirations unmatched by reality. However, it is interesting to note that in Nigeria today, unlike in the colonial and in the immediate post-colonial times, when AK 1975 deployed the two public theories in analyzing state-society relationship, there is a thin line between how the average Nigerian relates to the two publics. There are many cases of breach of trust among members of the same family and kinship groups, as well as in ethno-religious groups, professional bodies, and community development associations. It may be correct to say that attack on common progeny and shared interests. The phenomenon of governance and the manner it will play out in its effects on the conditions of Nigerians have been well articulated by Yagboyaju 2010, 2013A and 2016A. Yagboyaju and Akinola 2019, Yagboyaju and Oyèkánmi 2024. All of these works have benefited from the position of the World Bank 1996 in the institutions classifications of 6 dimensions of governance. It is of great importance to know that the public or political form of governance has been prominent than the social and economic aspects in most writings on the phenomenon. However, the concept of governance makes a better understanding by combining the social, a system of values and beliefs that are necessary for social behaviors to happen and for public decisions to be taken, and the economy, consisting of the processes or organizational mechanisms that are necessary to produce and distribute services and goods, and the political that relates to the processes by which society organizes its affairs and manages itself. It is disturbing that Nigerians and therefore their country have performed abysmally in all the 3 aspects of governance: social, economic, and political. It is interesting how Abati 2006 deployed the conditions of Nigerian rules in analyzing poor and ineffective governance in the country. Abati laments, the state of Nigerian rules is the state of Nigeria and a reflection of the level of governance in the country. Every sphere of national life is like the rules, pothole reading, abandoned to the vagaries of nature, crying loudly for vision and difference. The roads are bad, the hospitals are ill-equipped, the school system is in disarray, access to health remains the problem. Human life in both the cities and the rural areas is on the edge of despair. Supply of electricity remains elusive, while housing and infrastructural support for production and development are reduced noticeably. Abati's illustration above is quite informative and apt. However, it is limited and restrictive in view of its concentrated focus on the physical conditions of certain roads at that point in time in the life of Nigeria. A more encompassing view would, for instance, include the attitude of road users, whether in gated estates such as Kolapo Ishola, GRA, Akubo, Ibadan. You need to see speeding. Or roads in metropolitan centers such as Lagos with its BRT lanes, or on highways such as the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, particularly when such roads are well paved. Violation of road traffic regulations and laws for me are as awful and as deplorable as physical conditions of the roads. I am of the opinion that respect for traffic laws and regulations, just as this is applicable to other aspects of the laws of the land, is as important as the physical conditions of the roads, if not more. Of importance among the factors considered in ranking a state as strong, weak, fragile, or failed is no doubt the condition of physical infrastructure, among which are roads, but the capacity of the state to make and implement policies and laws is by far ranked higher. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, The factor of leadership is central to what Nigeria is and what the country ought to be. The leadership factor in the life of an organization or that of the country can hardly be overemphasized, and this fact has been stated by many, including Bon 1978, Achebe 1983, Hotri 2001, Sihula 2004, Okwade 2008, Yagboyaju 2013 and 2015, and Yagboyaju and Agbaji 2023. Achebe 1983 has been one of the most prominently cited works on leadership as a factor in the myriad of problems, including years of bloodshed, flagrant corruption, military rule, intertribal and intra-tribal conflicts, as well as political instability which confronted Nigeria from the country's immediate post-independence time or until today. However, Yagboyaju 2015 calls for clarification, and I would like to do that again by asserting that heaping all the blames of leadership in Nigeria on one man or on the country's highest political leadership is faulty, especially in a civilian dispensation. It is important to bring into consideration the effects of leadership performance at subnational and other lower governmental levels, including the associational levels. For me, small things matter and big things just don't happen. They often get over time. Leadership is likely to be more effective and less problematic if leadership gets it right from the lower levels. My interest in the ecology of administration as a crucial factor in the performance of Nigeria is another point to note. Of the many historical, social, economic, and political factors that are important in the ecology of public administration in Nigeria, I've chosen the need for vigilance and background check for the purpose of employment for illustration. This is quite important, yet this has been abandoned long in the history of private and more important public service in Nigeria. I will use a very simple instance to drive home the point of the dangers associated with the abandonment of background check in the life of Nigerians and their country. I heard about the story of a man with a history of psychiatric problems who was employed by the Nigerian police and who started carrying arms in public less than a year after. My interest in the study of corruption as a phenomenon has produced journal articles and chapter contributions. Yagboyaju 2000, 2005, 2007, 2011, 2013, 2016, 2018, 2019, and 2022, and Yagboyaju and Oyewo 2023. The focus is mainly to correct the impression that corruption is all about bribery, extortion, and misappropriation of public funds. Loss of community values, favoritism, colonialism, kleptocracy, and kingmakerism are other dimensions of corruption that have attracted my interest. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, ladies and gentlemen, there are communities where young stars, at least I know that of some areas in around about here, sometimes where secondary school students are celebrated for their achievements through internet fraud. There are student association elections where 38 voted and 42 ballots were counted at the end of the voting exercise. Maybe not in UI, but an election, a student association election that I observed. 38 voted, we counted 42 at the end of the exercise. And there are instances where ethno-religious considerations and not capacity necessarily dominated the selection of top management of universities. Achebe 1983, Erewu 1999, Odion Akin 2000, and Obadari 2023 have documented instances of crass nepotism and favoritism during student admission exercises, promotions, and nominations for merit positions in universities. Poor work ethics, scant regard for dignity of labor, as well as sense of appropriateness are some of the dominant elements in the intellectual symmetries of today. The university, which in Nigeria has a mission to pursue the truths and liberating the mind, and therefore provide pathways and solutions, is, according to Adamole in 2016 and 2017, one of the two prominent elite institutions, the other being the civil service. This makes the university a place of comfort and hope. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, ladies and gentlemen, this is hardly so with us. I know with the evidence that University of Ibadan, despite the existence of Ibadan and several engineering departments, is badly affected by power outages and poor infrastructural maintenance culture, while food items are as expensive on campus as those found outside. The University of Ibadan has quite a number of departments in the Faculty of Agriculture. Food should be cheap here so that Nigeria can be big for something that is good. Also, there are security breaches from time to time. Put your mind at rest, your cars will not be stolen inside the University of Ibadan. But it was Shanu 2024 who wrote in the article, "Bad Birthday Gift I Received," about the theft of his car battery in front of the security post right here on campus twice within 3 months. I leave the audience to decide whether the university is part of the problems of Nigeria or not. Focusing mainly on the human security dimensions and the broad area of security, Yagboyaju 2016B, 2022A, and 2023. Yagboyaju and Okonsis in 2020 have argued that security is crucial because every other thing is meaningless in the absence of security. Also, it has been argued that security is the business of everyone, including family and community associations. However, the police has constitutional roles to play. The police is confronted by the problems of operational constraints, including inadequate funding and limited exposure. But there have been serious accusations of brutality, shoddy investigation and prosecution, as well as acts of sabotage against corrupt elements in the police. The case of DSP George Iyamo, who connived with Lawrence and named the notorious armed robber who terrorized the main city and its environs in the 1980s, Marino 1987, is a point for reference. There is also the serious matter of lack of exposure, in which, for example, policemen refer complainants to seek spiritualists for protection. At least a police station counter officer once advised me because the police also seek protection from spiritualists. Compare this to the inauguration of the Pope at St. Peter's Square, Vatican City in May 2025, where the organizers involved the police and anti-bomb units, leaving nothing to chance or solely in the hands of the prayer warriors. I know that the Pope is the greatest prayer warrior in the Catholic world, yet the organizers involved the police and anti-bomb units. Here in Nigeria, the police involved spiritualists. Rather than address the issue of dereliction of duty, the average Nigerian, including the police, heaps the blame on the country, Nigeria. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, ladies and gentlemen, the submission in Yagboyaju 2022A and 2023 draws strength from the opinion of authority in 1962, final 1975, Adekoye 1985, 1999, and 2022. My position is that the military is a noble profession, and according to prominent postulations in the civil-military relations, it plays modernization roles. However, the political arm of the military contributed in no small measure to the problems of governance in Nigeria. For instance, it destroyed the practice of federalism, starting from the foundation which was laid by Agui-Ironsi regime in 1966, when the military first tested blood and the failed transition programs, as well as the unconstitutional tenure elongation attempt by one of its representatives, even during civil war. Issues in party politics, elections management, and regulation of political finance by INEC attracted my research interest. Yagboyaju 2011, 2011A, 2012, 2020, and 2022. Yagboyaju and Simbini 2020, 2020A and 2020B. Jega 2015, Olurode 2017. Of importance are the findings that belly politics or politics of stomach infrastructure instead of programmatic politics has gradually become part of the country's political culture. Also, my interest has been documented in the role of high election technology in Nigeria, especially since 2015, where a challenger defeated an incumbent president in a general election and the sanitizing effects in the country's voters register subsequently. Finally, my research interest in the activities of the civil service and the effects on the performance of Nigeria has been documented. Yagboyaju 2013, 2016, 2017, 2019, and 2021, and Yagboyaju and New York 2017. Mr. Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, the civil service and the university, the elite institutions, have huge roles to play in resolving the predicaments confronting Nigeria today. The civil service houses all the ministries, departments, and agencies that straddle social, economic, and political life in Nigeria, while the university is the center of excellence and the solution provider to which societies revert even at the height of war. Dhikru Adewale Yagboyaju once said that at the height of war, his two institutions, the university and the civil service, are still in good shape. There is hope for the country. My relationship with the community outside the university has been very fecund, and it has enhanced my God-given intellectual capacity. I've come to realize in my associational life and in the course of community services that members of community development associations, neighborhood associations, professional bodies, religious organizations, and even within extended family settings sometimes breach trust by acting against the common good of such groups. Nigeria is partly what it is or what it is not because of the activities or idleness of such groups. This is because the group, as in group theory, is the crucial factor in politics. For me, Ede, Ibadan, Erosho, Ado-Ekiti, and Yamuyi are communities that are related to with great affection. Ede is my place of origin, and it is one community that I love unconditionally. As a matter of fact, I prayed that Ede should be the capital of Osun State. And at least I observed a one-day fast when the state was created. Ibadan is my place of birth, and it is the place where I have proudly accepted to be called Mogaji Road. I have been honored in Erosho, Ado-Ekiti, and Yamuyi. I belong to them by extension. My associational life has also over the years been boosted by my relationship with Ede Baptist High School, Old Student Association, where I served as global president for 2 terms. Alumni associations, Alafia Crescent Resident Association, Ashibodija Ibadan, Kolapo Ishola GRA Resident Association, Akobo Ibadan, Journalist Estate, Phase 2, Areko, Ogun State, Ikoyi Club 1938, Ikoyi Lagos Club 1938, another unique club which provided a platform for me to lead for 12 years. Finally, there are the Muslim Association of Nigeria, where I am privileged to be the president, Kigrama, Nigeria's Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Muslim among other Muslim organizations, through which I endeavor to make Nigeria truly big for something. Takeaways and recommendations. Nigeria has been described as a crippled giant or Sagai 1998, and it appears as big for nothing. in that it has underperformed. But the country has performed poorly because Nigerians in their large numbers have underperformed. Just as the country's condition is lamentable because the conditions of the people are lamentable. The situation in Nigeria is abnormal, and at the same time it is undesirable because the people have not been acting normally. The country is confronted by huge problems, but they did not just start because big problems just don't start. I draw below 5 salient points as takeaways and recommendations. Number 1, it is intriguing that Nigerians like to have a big, beautiful and functioning country. But whether rich, poor, high, low, they hardly understand why and how rules, regulations and laws are important for the well-being and prosperity of citizens and residents. Order is said to be heaven's first law, while order is order also has a place, even in anarchy. Big Nigeria therefore requires a system that recognizes the importance of rules, regulations and laws in every sector of social, economic and political relationships, starting preferably from the nuclear family and the community settings. 2. Policing at every gatekeeping level, family, school, worship center, community or in other government uniform has been quite ineffective in Nigeria. No country can hardly guarantee compliance or prevent violations and perpetration of crimes when its laws are mostly respected in the breach. Number 3, I remember very well that while growing up, they used to tell me about Olopati workshop. And you respect Olopati workshop. How much more the policeman in uniform? But that has to be re-engineered. Number 3, directional leadership, the type that takes responsibility for decision making and which does what needs to be done and not necessarily what followers want, has been lacking for a long time in Nigeria. Lee Kuan Yew and Mahathir Mohamad of Singapore and Malaysia respectively helped in leapfrogging their countries from third to first world status. These are examples of national leaders who galvanized a critical mass from sub-national governmental levels. The coming together of the critical mass, no matter how little at the beginning, showed the sufficient as building blocks. This is unlike in big Nigeria, with the erroneous impression that the magician president has the Midas touch to get all things right by himself or herself. The president, governor, or chairman of local government is part of the problem, and therefore it can only be part of the solution. The whole issue is multidimensional, so there can't be a silver bullet solution. Number 4, institutions are weak in general in Nigeria. Strong institutions can hardly emerge out of the blue. They start by revolving around the personality of a strong individual. The more they have in different aspects of life, the better for the country and its good people. Number 5, political restructuring or recalibration is a attitude which has been around in Nigeria for some time as a solution to the myriad of problems in the country. It is no doubt a crucial pathway, but it can hardly be a standalone or a silver bullet solution for the problem of Nigeria. Conclusion. The main point that I've tried to make in this presentation about the paradoxicality of Nigeria being big yet so unproductive to warrant the question of being big for nothing is that the country, despite its size as well as human and material endowments, has underperformed. Nigeria, often seen by many of the citizens from the prison of being a colonially contrived alien object, is caused by the citizens both at home and in the diaspora at every given opportunity. The people speak negatively about their country and demarket it whether as a politician seeking relevance in the United Kingdom or on social media. This is in spite of the country's potential for greatness and the platform for identification it promises its citizens. Incidentally, one can hardly succeed in a country that it does not love. This is probably why foreign nationals who love to come to Nigeria see opportunities and they thrive in the country. In 1997, during an inaugural lecture held in this hall, it was declared that hope had been squandered. Now, 28 years later, we are confronted by a new mantra, renewed hope. My earnest desire is that this renewed vision will not only be affirmed but sustained for the benefit of the greatest number of Nigerians. The declaration of squandered hopes did not suggest that all was lost, but that promise had been momentarily deferred. In this light, I believe firmly that neither leaders nor the ordinary citizens should surrender to hopelessness. Instead, our collective focus must shift towards converting potentials into tangible progress through purposeful productivity and shared responsibility. It is my conviction that a critical mass of committed volunteers, united by a common goal, can ignite the transformation that we desire. The challenge is far too enormous for one individual. It is therefore a clarion call to action for everyone: the president, governors, and local governments, council chairmen, managers and policemen, legislators and the army generals, parents and guardians, litigators and judges, lecturers and vice chancellors. Each must rise to the occasion to preside, govern, manage, police, legislate, nurture, guide, litigate, adjudicate, teach, and of course, champion the cause of morality and ethics, discipline, and the love for country. Nigeria will hail thee. The time for decisive and diligent action is now. There is no room for delay in realizing the promise of a Nigeria that is not just big, but one that is big for something productive. God bless Nigeria and its good people. Mr. Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, acknowledgements. The task of compiling the list of everyone who had played significant roles in one's life can be challenging, although it is discretionary. Paying tribute to or acknowledging every significant contributor is almost impossible and probably not expected. It is therefore with trepidation that I set out on this section of my presentation. I have benefited from the affection, support, and admiration of a lot of people, families and friends, benefactors, schoolmates, colleagues, supervisees, and categories of students, among others. I acknowledge all, just as I would have to note that those who have challenged me at different points in time, for those whose names have been omitted, probably for constraints and not unconnected to memory, space, time, and poor judgment, rest assured that you are recognized for abundant blessings from the Almighty who knows all and every locational addresses. I affirm that there is no deity worthy of worship except the last one, Allah, who has no partner in His Majesty, as He controls the heavens and the earth and everything that exists. He creates from nothing, and to Him is the return of every creature. May the mercy of Allah continue to be with the soul of Rasulullah, the best of Allah's creators. The rest of the acknowledgements has well over 200 names. Obviously, the constraint of time will hinder me from reading all these names. In this light, kindly permit me to categorize as follows. My parents, I can never be thankful enough, and my stepmother. Chivisa Akoni Yagboyaju is not here in person, but there is Baba Bashoro Koladaisi in the hall. Thank you so very much for all your love, sir. Baba at 93 struggled to come to this hall. Thank you so very much, sir. My uncle and my guardian, Emeritus Professor Laidi Abbas, and his late wife, Princess Muslima Joladi Abbas. Thank you so much, Daddy. Thank you so very much. Very senior government officials and office bearers. I've seen quite a number. My late auntie, Alaja Kudrat Adini, and her husband. For the families, brothers, sisters, cousins, nephews, and nieces. My teachers, mentors, students, mentees, and so on. Current and past Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan. Vice Chancellors from sister institutions. The DGs around here. The Director of JAMB. Colleagues in UI and those from UNILAG. Koheyu, Lasso Union, and others to which I'm connected. Our traditional rulers and community leaders, title holders from across. Imams, clerics, and leaders of religious organizations from our MSSPs, MAN, Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Muslim and Zaruddin Nafat, and so on and so forth. My father and mother figures. I won't be able to name all, but Mama Sarat Adeola Adeshina, the wife to former governor of Oyo State, Lam Adeshina. Mama is in this hall. Thank you so very much, Mama. My friends, associates, and admirers, as well as alumni associations, home student associations, social cultural clubs, and community development, particularly a very unique club. Of course, I recognize members of the Baptist School Student Association. In Baptist School, the seniority is forever. So I don't want anybody to come and ask me to kneel down outside. I recognize your support, I recognize and acknowledge your love. Families of Omotosho, for the gift of Rodia Dhikru Yagboyaju, may Allah be pleased to tell his soul. Family of Ambassador Hamza Zubairi, my in-laws, our in-laws in general. Finally, I thank that little girl, Rakia, for her love and understanding, and for tolerating this boy who has been thoroughly spoiled, and importantly for restoring smiles and laughter, which altered abruptly in 2020. I thank the children, Sultan, Amani, Khadija and Baba, Mulka, and their spouses, and the grandchildren for their unconditional love. I thank you all for listening.